Hi, it's Purple Ange, and I wanted to talk to you about something that I found today when I was searching provincial policy, and I did an earlier post about trying to figure out who I'm going to vote for because I'm really having some challenge with that this time around. I found this. This is fantastic news. This is an inclusive education policy that was approved in August of this year, 2019, and it's going to start in September 2020. There's some really great stuff in here. You can find this on the HRM, the Halifax Centre for Education site, or just the Nova Scotia Department of Education site, and they are proposing, or they have implemented, an inclusive education policy, which I think is a great step in the right direction. I'm a little concerned, even though it's fantastic work, and I'm really excited to see that there are more supports coming in place and more teaching practices and supports for teachers. I am still a little concerned that we haven't hired enough supports. As I had talked about earlier in the school year, so, last month, my son actually got into a severe learning disability program. Yay! Which was very successful, and I'm really excited about it. He really likes the teacher for that program, so he has been doing really good work with her. And it took a lot of load off me. It took a lot of pressure off me to have to be doing teaching with him and work with him every evening at the table, because I'm a nurse, and although I love teaching, love education in this format, going back to high school is not really my thing. And so having to relearn high school work in order to teach my son the way he learns is what I want from the school. I want the school to have support so that they deliver information the way that kids like my son learn. That is my dream. I actually don't know that I ever said that. Okay, so I just had an epiphany. That's my goal. My goal is to enter the classroom and see the supports for the teachers and the other kids so that children like my son get out of their education what they're entitled to. Because education in Canada, and in any country, but in Canada, specifically speaking for me and mine, is a right. Proper education is a right. It's not a privilege. So right now what we're doing in school is for people who all fit the mold, and not children like ADHDers that I live with that don't fit the mold. So, I started searching for some of this stuff because there was a post on Power School, and for those of you that don't live in Nova Scotia, Power School is a program online that the teachers access, and they upload all of your kids' grades, whether they were absent for class or late, how they're doing performance-wise, and so it keeps constant communication with parents without actually having to contact the teachers. I love Power School. I'm sure it's very challenging for the teachers to upkeep that information on top of their class homework. But I do love Power School because I am constantly involved in my child's learning. And so one of the things that they had told us to go and look at were the provincial scores for the provincial testing for English and math, for reading comprehension and mathematics. And I went back to kind of a really painful place, because when my son was in grade 6, he had an amazing teacher. She is a very, very good teacher, and she kind of laid it all out for me. And it was the first time that anybody had ever laid it out for me. My son did the provincial math assessment, and they couldn't even score him. They couldn't even give him a 0. He did so little of the actual test that they couldn't give him a score of whether or not he met any standard or was below standard at all. And at the time, I remember having inconsolable breakdowns over the fact that he wasn't able to demonstrate any learning. So his challenges with his dyscalculia all along, and his learning disability with numbers and processing information, was coming out on paper, and the school had such a long wait list for diagnosing learning disabilities at the time that he was waitlisted till he was 12 years old for his psychoeducational assessment, even to figure out what learning challenges he had. And so I had to pay privately to get those assessments done so that I could start intervening and start correcting some of the damage that had been done to his self-esteem and his confidence in his own knowledge and his own abilities. And so his scores this time around, I didn't get a math score yet, but even his reading scores and his language scores, his reading scores have improved significantly since his initial assessment when he was in grade 6. And so, you know, I'm happy to see that his writing skills and written language skills are still quite challenged for him. But so I do a lot of searching because I'm trying to see if from grade 6 to grade 11, is there a change in the school system at all? Is there a change in the provincial assessments? Is there more intervention in the classroom? Is there more support? And I'm not sure. I hope that on my page I have some teacher friends who can enlighten me about you. I want to know from you, from the teachers and the educators, do you feel supported? Do you feel like you have what you need in the classroom to provide to my son, to a child like my son, or a child like your child, with ADHD that has specific and severe learning disabilities in many areas in your classroom? Do you have what you need? Take a read at this inclusion policy. I'll hold it up closer so you can see it. Do you think that you're going to be able to do this policy? Because there are high accountabilities in here. Accountabilities for parents and kids, which I think is wonderful. There needs to be involvement like me. If you have a child with ADHD, you have to be involved, you have to be dedicated, and your child has to want to participate in their education, which can be challenging if they've had a rough start. They can have, you know, real lack of trust in the system. So this inclusion policy, I'm excited about it, and it will be implemented with my son still in school and my Callie, but I'm not sure that this is achievable with the system we have. So I'll leave that with you. I really hope to get some feedback. I'm dying to hear from the educators and what you think about this. And what do you actually need as a teacher? What supports do you need and what knowledge do you need? I do hear from some of my friends who are teachers that they really don't know much about ADHD, and they're encountering these children in every classroom. 5% of the child population in Canada has ADHD. 5%. There's 1 to 3 children in every classroom in the entire nation. And so how are we addressing this? Anyway, those are the thoughts that go on in my head all day long and torture me every day, you guys. And so now I'm putting it out to you to talk about. Anyway, I hope to hear from some of you and hope you guys have a fantastic day. Peace.